What's up, guys?
Steven over here.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, last time we saw you in Salt Lake City, you did a whole media day, and you didn't end up getting a fight. So when they announced this card was going to happen, did you want to be on this card for the opportunity to fight in Salt Lake?
I did. I actually did because I owe them one because I didn't get to fight last time. You know, everybody was looking forward to that Michelle Pereira fight. He's doing money in a weight class higher, which is where she should be at. But, wanted to be here, wanted to be out here, especially against somebody like Joaquin Buckley who's going to bring it.
Well, you say he's going to bring it. Kevin Holland was in here, and he told us.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. Y'all got it out there on media quick.
Yeah, he said that he doesn't think Buckley's the guy that'll stand and trade with you. So seeing that, are you like, well, maybe – and then Joaquin was in here earlier, and he's like, this isn't a MMA fight. I can't take him down and, ground and pound him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, you go back and watch it. I think it was 2 fights ago or a fight ago. He fought the big Russian dude.
Last fight.
Yeah, he took him down. He won by takedown. So I prepared for that. I knew that was I know that was going to happen. At this point, you got guys who no longer want to stand and strike with me, which I think shows a testament to my striking, and they just want to take me down now. So I'll be ready wherever the fight goes.
Joaquin also did an interview not too long ago where he was like, Steven's not as nice as maybe people see in front of the cameras, and he kind of chalked it up to like once you start circling each other in the rankings, the energy just kind of changes because you might have to get into a fight. Do you kind of chalk it up as that, or Buckley trying to sell the fight, or does he actually think you're meaner than you give yourself off?
I think he's trying to sell the fight. I mean, I think he brought it up, something that happened at International Fight Week, which we were chatting the whole time. Can I get the fight? Let's see the fight. It's like, yeah, my people get in touch with your people. We'll see if the fight will happen. And I was sitting there talking with Chris Weidman was doing some media. So it was me, my brother, and Marie V, Chris Weidman's wife, and with the kids. And we were just sitting there chatting. And then Joaquin comes up, and I didn't really understand what he was trying to tell me about a fan was talking crap. I don't know if he was saying that the fan was saying that I was talking crap or he was talking crap. I don't know. I was just like, hey, man, it's all good, It's cool. Like, I had no idea what he was saying, to be honest with you. He walked off, and we just started chatting. I guess he thought we were talking about him or something. No idea. So it kind of surprised me when I heard the interview like a month later. I'm like, what? I don't remember saying anything to him, man. I know there were fans trying to get us to, talk trash on each other, but I don't do that. I'm not good at it to begin with.
Is it true that Kevin Holland referred to you as Joaquin Buckley's grandfather?
He did. We were in the back. We were getting ready to go out to do some media at International Fight Week, and next thing I know, I'm trying to get some food. They had like a spread out for us. I'm sitting there with my brother, my dad, my manager, and Kevin Hall's like, "Yo, Grandpa." I'm looking to see who. I thought his grandpa was really there, and I'm like, and he's looking at me. I'm like, me? He's like, yeah. Your grandpa. I'm dad. Joaquin's grandson. I beat Joaquin, you beat me. You're grandpa. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess I'll. I guess that's cool. So yeah, he did, man.
Did you think he was calling you old?
No, I don't think. I guess he was. I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Am I the oldest guy on the card? I have no idea.
Probably on the card.
I heard I was the oldest guy, second oldest guy in the UFC behind Stipe, who's 42. But I think Clay's
Holly might be up there too.
Okay, but I think what's his dang name? I forgot his name. I think Guida. Yeah, Clay Guida's older than me.
I feel like your top 5 Guida's probably.
Yeah. So I'm still a young buck, man. There's just still guys older than me in the UFC.
And I have to ask. Aldo was in here earlier, and what he said, I feel like I should ask you. He's fighting Mario Bautista, this other young kid coming up, and he's been around for so long. And Jose Aldo said, I'll fight whoever it takes to get to the UFC title. And I think when they announced you versus Buckley, people might have been surprised because, Leon was coming off a loss, Colby called you out, and then you're fighting this guy trying to make a name for himself again. Are you in that same mindset as, like, you'll just fight whoever it takes to get to the title?
Yeah, man. I mean, I wouldn't say just to get to the title, but there's a lot of guys in the UFC divisions that try to hold on to their spots, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Jake Ellenberger giving me a shot, Hendricks giving me a shot, Rory McDonald giving me a shot. And before I fought those guys, I wasn't even ranked, I don't think. But they gave me that opportunity. I'm the type of guy to give these young bucks a chance to come up and see if they got what it takes to go on the top. I mean, I did it with Jeff Neal, Kevin Holland, Vicente Luque at the time, and now Buckley. So I don't mind. My goal is to fight the best fighters in the world. Like, when I retire, like, who can say, a very small percentage of the world can say that they've done that in this division, you know? So no regrets, my man. I mean, nobody wanted to fight Shavkat, and they were like, "Hey, you want to fight Shavkat? Let's do it," you know?
Are you surprised that Shavkat hasn't fought since your fight?
Yeah, I mean, I am surprised. I don't know if he was on some injuries or he's just waiting for the right opportunity, but I thought it was going to be him and Ian Gary because they're kind of right there, you know? And the winner of that maybe fights the champ. But no, I don't know how that's going to go. I think they might be giving Shavkat the chance. I mean, he's a tough guy. I think that's a great fight, though. Mm-hmm. Both cancel each other out when it comes to the wrestling, and it becomes a striking fight. I think if it goes early, if the fight ends early, it's Shavkat. But Belal, man, he's got cardio. He's just as fresh in the 5th round as he was in the 1st. So if it goes the distance, I'm thinking it might be Belal.
And you made your debut 12 years ago on that same card as, Poirier Holloway won. So I guess looking back to the state of the division back then when you had like the GSPs and the Hendricks and the John Fitches to now, like you said, a lot of these people are kind of holding their spot in these rankings. What do you make of the state of the welterweight division now? You have a new champion. A lot of guys aren't fighting each other. Just what do you make of everything going on at 170?
Man, it keeps refreshing, like after every welterweight fight, right? When for the longest it was stagnant. Like you had the champ, and he was fighting kind of the same guys for the past 2 to 3 years, and it's like, come on, man, get somebody else up there. But now we got a new champ, and it's changed within the past like 3 to 4 years. It was Usman, then it was Leon, now it's Belal. Like, who's next? Is it going to be Shavkat? And I haven't fought since December, so I came down in the rankings. I think I'm ranked number 9 at this point. But I think it's great. I think it's good to keep these guys moving. Keep these guys moving. I don't like it when it's stagnant.
So you like Belal's already calling out Shavkat, he's calling out Jack. He seems to be a champion that wants to fight the number 1 contender.
Yes, that's how I think when you get the title, you shouldn't pick. I think you should fight, especially after that first fight, 1 or 2 fights. You fight who's coming up, and then you're able to pick or get that money fight or whatever. But when you get to the title, then you're just like, oh, I'm just wanting this guy right here. I want Conor. It's like you got to kind of earn it a little bit, And
then unrelated to this fight, I don't know if I'm going to get to ask you again. What do you make of karate not being in the Olympics anymore?
Well, if it was Kyokushin karate, it would still be in the Olympics. You know what I mean? When they got the full contact, I think it was like the last Olympics when the guy got round kicked and knocked out. Like, come on, man. This is a combat sport. If there's a knockout, awesome. Plus, it would stink to get gold, but you won gold by getting knocked out, So I think that had a lot to do with it not being in the Olympics is because of the rule setting. Like, it's a combat sport. Let's go. Y'all should be wanting knockouts to make it more exciting, more people tuning in.
Are you surprised that given how popular karate was in California specifically for so long, like especially after the movies The Karate Kid and everything came out, LA kind of became the hub of like karate schools popping up, that not even LA is having karate in the Olympics?
Yeah, man. It was great in the 80s. We know The Karate Kid came out. There was a lot of people wanting to venture out or wanted to train karate because of The Karate Kid. But then you started seeing these like McDojo schools popping up left and right, people all about it just for the money and not putting out good students. So it watered our style down, it watered the karate down. That's why people said it would never work in a real street situation. So, there are schools out there like my dad's and his instructors and other schools out there that karate's legit. Look at Lyoto Machida. He was the first to do it in the UFC, and it was like he was my inspiration, one of my inspirations, besides GSP and those guys, to start competing because people were talking about karate. And it works, man.
It does. And then last one for me. Can I just get your thoughts on the main event between Alex and Khalil?
Oh, man. Okay. First off, it's very hard to go against a guy or not pick a guy like Alex Pereira to win. Okay? Now, Khalil Rountree, I'm excited for this fight because it's going to be a stand-up battle, like Muay Thai versus Muay Thai. They're both heavy hitters, and Khalil Rountree could put him to sleep just as easy as Pereira can put him to sleep. It's just, I think Alex has the edge. He's very calm. I think he does a great job of keeping the distance, and he's a he's a sniper when it comes to his shots, right? He's very patient. The only thing that I fear about Alex is staying in the pocket. You saw against Izzy Adesanya, he's not the type of guy that throws a combination and then moves. He stays in the pocket until he finishes, which is why Izzy Adesanya ended up knocking him out. He stayed in the pocket, he bounced off the cage, boom, and down he went. If he stays in the pocket with Khalil Rountree can put him to sleep. There would be no takedowns. No takedowns at all. This is going to be a striking battle, and I'm all for it. So I am leaning towards my man Alex Pereira because he's on a tear. I think he's the calmer fighter. He's a sniper. He picks his shot, and I think he's got the power just to put him to sleep, and he can keep the range.
Stephen, right over here.
Yes, sir.
This is a really small regional MMA question, but there was a small story that came out that on Monday you went out to a local gym and just spoke to a bunch of different fighters here in the state of Utah. I saw a ton of posts about it and a ton of people just saying how grateful they were that on such a busy week, you've got a million other things that you could rather be doing. You're just talking to some of these young up-and-coming fighters. What compelled you to do that?
Man, this is why I do what I do. You know, I've been in the martial arts since I was 3 years old. I know what the martial arts has done for me, not just as a martial artist, but just being a good human being. And it's a great lifestyle. And you get these guys who, some of the guys there were on the Contender Series, and they're in the UFC. So, and they're like, man, I look up to you. I'm like, are you kidding me? These guys are karate guys too. Come, pretty close to where I'm from. And to be able to see that amateur, pro level, and even in the UFC, a lot of these guys look up to me, and anything I can do to kind of give back to my community, especially to the fighter. It's a great life. Yes, it's tough, it's hard, but this is why I do what I do, man, just to give back to these local fighters and these up-and-coming fighters who want to make it to the UFC. It can be done. Look at me. I look back. I told my dad when I was 12 years old that I was going to be in the UFC one day. He took me to UFC 3. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Grady Cole Center. And I told my dad then I was going to do this one day. And it's easy, but it's not easy. All I did was just didn't stop. I didn't stop my training. When all my friends are going out partying, I was in the gym training, So it's as easy as that. I mean, it's hard to go through the training. That's the tough part, but just don't stop. And that's what I told these guys. I was like, look, man, you're going to have your wins. You're going to have your losses. But people are going to look at you on how you take those losses and your wins. So that people will remember that.
That last question before I ask mine, you have such potent analysis. After the MMA career is over, do you hope to become potentially some sort of a broadcast analyst in some capacity? I know you already do YouTube and things like that, but go even, a step further. I would love it.
I did some stuff when the UFC was with a different company, not ESPN, and it was great, but at the time I was running the school and training, full time, so it was a little tough because that's a full-time job. You watch a lot of these guys, Cormier and these other analysts, they do a lot of work studying their fighting, giving them phone calls. And at the time, it was just a little too much. But 100%, I would love to do this just to stay in the game, to be in it still. Now, if or whenever I do retire, that's not going to stop my martial arts journey. I've got other fighters that I have coming up. They help me get ready for mine, and I help them get ready for theirs. So I'll do this, like I said, as long as my body will let me. Or when my dad says, all right, man, you're taking too much punishment, or your heart's not in it. And sometimes us as fighters, we may not feel that. We were like, oh, my heart is in it, but really it's not, And I've been there before. I've been there early in my kickboxing career. Before I ended up tearing every ligament in my left leg, I was burnt. And I didn't know how to tell him that I didn't want to do this anymore. And then it came as a blessing, actually, when I ended up tearing my knee. And I was out for 3 years, kind of rekindled that flame, and it's been on fire ever since. Yes, sir.
Stephen over here.
Oh, he got it. Who was it?
We'll go over here.
Okay.
Because you said something about when you were asked about the canceled fight and everything in Salt Lake City and whatnot. I believe the words you used were you felt like you owed something to this community, to the city, to the event, something like that. Like, I just kind of want to go a little deeper into that. What did you feel like you owed after that fight was canceled, I guess, where you wanted so badly to be back on this card in Salt Lake?
Well, obviously I want to win the fight, but I also want to put on a good show. There was a lot of people that have been, DMing me, messaging me, I can't wait to see your fight. Can't wait to see your fight here in Salt Lake City. Locals wanting to see this fight, and then it not happening. Of course, I was disappointed that my opponent didn't make weight, but I was also disappointed in the fact that I wasn't able to put on a show for everybody here in Utah. So now that this fight has happened, it was like, man, back in Utah, let's do it. So that's what I felt like I owed them, a show. Hopefully, me and Joaquin will put that on this Saturday. And he just lay on me, but we'll see. I'll be ready for it, though.
Speaking of him potentially laying down and you being a striker, obviously, I wanted to ask you, man, you saw in Embedded this week a lot of drilling submissions from you. How do you feel as though, or what's the confidence like in your ground game, rather?
I mean, it's there. I mean, I've always had confidence in the ground game. It's like earlier in my career, I think I just got done fighting Matt the Immortal Brown. Right, went the distance. He ended up out wrestling me, and everybody's like, "Oh, Wonderboy ain't got no wrestling." So my next opponent was Nashan Burrell. I out wrestled him, and then I out wrestled Chris Clements. And then after the fight, I forgot who it was. They came up to me. They were with the UFC, and they were like, "Look, Steven, it wasn't your wrestling that got you here." I'm like, "All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down." So, for a long time, I was just focused on that, putting on a show with my striking. That's what people want to see, because as soon as the fight goes to the ground, especially when it comes to me, people boo. But at the top, man, right now, it's very difficult to get back up to the top if I don't use it. So it's the past 3 training camps has been specifically a lot on my submissions and grappling and takedown defense. Even though I lost to the fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, I was still happy with the fight. You can still lose a fight and still be happy with it because my goal is always the title, right? But a little mindset switch if that's the only goal, it kind of dulls a little bit. So now my goal is how good can I get? That's my goal. At 41 years old, how good can I get? How much better can I get? And that's my mindset when I wake up every morning. I ask myself that. And that's what fuels me to go train every day. And that's why I've got a lot of questions. People are like, man, you've been in the game for a long time. How do you still have, the energy to do this, man? How do you have the drive to keep fighting? And that's it. Just to continue to get better. I was happy with that fight because there were some things that I was working on that was working. He took him a very hard time taking me down in the first and early half of the second round. He ended up getting me down, took advantage of it, and it was over. But still, I was like, I lost, but things were working. Let's go. Let's keep it up. So I came in 28 when I was in the UFC, a little fairly late in the game, and I was more focused on my striking up until that point. And to be honest with you, I'm still learning, man.
Absolutely. And last but not least from me, I saw a lot of people on social media, Instagram specifically, they were saying that they're predicting a Wonderboy submission this week, man. What do you think about that?
Well, hey, it could happen, baby. You never know. I might sneak one of those in. So, yeah, man, we've been working on it nonstop. I got great coaches back home. Of course, my dad, Brad Strain, my buddy Gino, Weston Wilson, Tom Lane, Chris Weidman. Got a whole great team around me to help me get to this point. So I'm going to put on a show.
Steven, right over here. You're known as one of the nicest guys in the UFC. You're just really positive. You have this great golden retriever energy to you. I'm just wondering, is there any moment on fight night, whether it's in the locker room, the walkouts, entering the octagon, where you have to maybe get a little angry and let the pit bull out a little bit?
I don't think I've ever, since my very first fight, kickboxing fight up until now, never angry. And I was taught that just because it took me a little, especially as a teenager in my early 20s when that testosterone's flowing, you're just like, but you got to learn to dial it back because you start getting angry, you start doing things you normally wouldn't do out there. You see fighters do that. They get angry, they get mad, and the next thing you know, they start swinging for the fences, leaving themselves open, and then they get put out. So I learned to kind of channel that into just my fight mindset, right? I know there's a time when I can chill, hang out with other people. Whenever it's time for business, it's time for business. I go out there, no animosity, but I'm going to get this done, right? I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to love you after. Or I'm going to get knocked out, and I'm going to love you after. It was just your best time. So no animosity. I'm never angry. I'm focused, yes. I know what needs to be done, yes, but I'm never angry.
You're not like super happy either. You're just kind of.
Yeah. I'm not like, jumping around. I'm like, why am I doing this, dude? No, for real. I mean, they say whenever you step out there, if you're not nervous, that's the time to kind of hang it up, But every time, I mean, just being up here with you guys, anytime I leave my hotel room, I feel the nerves. But that lets you know you're live. Like, how many people are willing to do what we do on a daily basis, especially during fight week, the weight cut, the media, all the nerves, the anxiety that comes along with it. I think that's what gets addicting. When you get guys who want to retire, or they come out of retirement, or they should retire but they don't retire, as they're chasing that feeling still. They go home every day and it's like, it's not the same, So I think I love it. I learned to love it. I hate it at the same time, but I love it at the same time. Because after the fight, win or lose, it's like, let's do this again.
Yeah, John Jones said is butterflies information is what he says.
Yeah, I agree. Butterfly information, man.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank y'all.